good habits right now when it comes to practice. So I'm pleased with our coach's ability to get them to this point, and our players' ability to keep it going. But I'll open up for questions.
But you didn't get an email or a call or a text during practice informing you that Todd Gurley's status had changed or anything?
No, I don't. All I know is what you all know, that whatever was reported. But Todd wanting to get reinstated and us going through the process of getting that done.
Coach, what would you say would be the importance of getting this taken care of and him rejoining the team, maybe in time in Florida?
Well, it'd be wonderful. We definitely would like to know one way or another in time to really prepare our team properly. Without a doubt, it would be very exciting if the answer was that he could play in the game.
What are the dynamics during practice between him and the other players and Nick Chubb and the others as this hangs over his head?
It's just a normal day. Even the last couple weeks, when the first week, the Thursday prior to the Missouri game is when the news came out, and Todd was. I gave Todd the choice on whether he would be at practice or not. At first, he wanted to be at practice, wanted to be with his teammates, but after he thought it through, he thought that he could possibly be a distraction to the team and didn't want to be that. And he wanted the coaches to, at least for one practice, try to do whatever we needed to do to get the other guys ready to go, so to speak. So he ended up not going to practice on that Thursday. But the next week, he was there at everything, and I think it was just really good medicine for him. Talked to him a couple times throughout this thing in person, a lot of texting back and forth here and there, and one of the things he mentioned even in last week's game against Arkansas, that he just enjoyed watching the game, enjoyed watching his teammates play, and enjoyed watching Chubb do his thing. He said he felt a little bit like a proud father watching Chubb play ball, and so his spirits have been good, and he's tried to not be a distraction to the team in any way. He's only tried to, support his teammates through practice and things of that nature.
One last question.
Excuse me.
As you stress character with the players, how has this come up in discussions with him and with other players as to the mistakes he says he made and how you go forward?
Well, I think we all make mistakes. What I've always asked of our players, if they do make a mistake, to to be honest about it and to take their discipline like a man, and then move on in a positive direction, learn from it, and move on in a positive way. And that's, I think that's the approach Todd's taken right now, and many other players over the years. The goal is to not only teach guys to play football, but to educate them, and this is, part of the education process.
Are you familiar with this proposed legislation to pay players, based on cost of attendance plus an amount for their use of their likeness and signature? Are you aware of that?
I'm not. It's the first I've heard of it. I've always heard the cost of attendance thing. Well, I guess it was in place for, a month or so? Or it was in place for a little while, and then I don't know who backed off, or whether it was the presidents or the NCAA in general. I mean, we are the NCAA. We're all members. And I don't know why it kind of got stopped abruptly, but I do think the cost of attendance would be very helpful.
Mark, can you talk a little bit about Christian Payne and what he's brought
Right.
to you all?
Well, Christian is a guy that, just like a lot of walk-ons, they come in with the hopes of, at first, I think, just being accepted by their teammates, trying to fit in, wondering if they're good enough to compete with these guys. And then over time, they begin to do scout team work mostly. That's kind of their first experience, especially if their first experience is in the fall camp. And, so he was doing some scout team on defense, scout team on special teams, and and just showing up, so to speak, with effort and ability and toughness. And the more you watch some of these guys on the scout teams, the more you say, hey, maybe he can help us on the special teams. And he's kind of earned his way there. And now, with Maxie having that stinger or burner or whatever you want to call it in the middle of the last game, he gets thrown in the fire. And here he is playing fullback for Georgia. And he did a nice job. So he's earned a lot of respect. And I want to emphasize the word earned it. These guys that are walk-ons earn everything they get. And he's a guy that I think his teammates know that he can play major D1 football.
Did you have any awareness of him? I know he went to the school his kids went to, but
Yeah, I
before
knew
he came
about
here-
him.
Okay.
Yeah, all my kids went to Prince Avenue Christian School, and that's where Christian went. And kind of following the team from afar. I can't go to the games, unfortunately, but just reading about him and hearing about him. My daughter Anya is a senior in high school now, and so she was, I guess, just one class behind him, and she knew who Christian was and everything. And I've just heard a lot of good things. And then when he came in this summer, our strength staff noticed him right away, his ability to keep pace in the strength and conditioning program. They were impressed with him as an athlete and as a guy who had some strength.
After seeing Keith Marshall practice for a couple of days, do you feel any different or about his availability?
I'm not real optimistic right now from what I've seen. I'm not saying that he couldn't play, but right now, I wouldn't say Keith is just lighting it up right now. He's still kind of feeling his way, in my opinion.
Mark, obviously you never know what the NCAA is going to do, but do you feel confident with the case for getting Todd?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what to. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic. I think that we as an institution and Todd as a student athlete did everything within the protocol of the governing body, the NCAA, and so hopefully all will end well, and hopefully sooner than later.
Coach, at least, on the outside looking in, these last couple of weeks seems like it's been a rallying time for the players. And then since that, the country's kind of seemed to look at you guys and feel like pretty good about your chances. Talking with some of the players out there, they say, well, that being the case, we're still kind of keeping ourselves humble here.
Yeah.
Is that unique to this team, or have you always kind of had teams where even when you guys have been up in the polls or whatever, that players have stepped up and said, well, we're not there yet?
I think some years you handle it better than others, and so far they've handled it well, but we're still, to a certain degree on the rise, or at least on this journey, trying to get to Atlanta. We don't have much margin for error at all right now. We lose one SEC game from here on in, we lose control of our destiny with Missouri beating us head to head, and with that lack of margin of error, that we know every game is just so crucial, and every practice is crucial to be prepared to try to play well in these games. So the stakes just kind of get a little higher every week.
Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, I
Excuse me.
think Dominic Sanders is the only member of the secondary that started every game. As a true freshman, what is he showing you?
Well, I've not been able to keep track of that stat. There have been a lot of lineup changes in the defensive backfield, so I haven't really figured all that out. But that might be true. I'm not doubting you. But he's done a very good job. Very conscientious. He practices with a purpose. He's kind of a no-nonsense guy. He's very, very coachable, very teachable. The little things, the hustle, we want a thud in practice. We're not going to tackle, but we want to thud the runner up or the receiver getting the ball. And usually a safety is a free hitter on just about every play. So, those safeties have an opportunity to thud the back every single play and hustle to the ball every single play. A lot of guys might get blocked or be on the other side of the play, but most of the time your safeties are pretty much in the middle of the field where they can go either direction, And so you just see him play after play after play, hustle, get to the ball, strike, thud. And you could tell that, he's had his rough days out there. I mean, they've all had their rough days out there trying to get it right. But I think what Coach Pruitt likes about him is just how he goes about his business every day. And if he does make a mistake, he at least is making it full speed, and he's not making it because he's not focusing, or you know what I mean. If a guy makes a mistake because he looks like he's not focusing, or he's back there messing around, like let's say the second team's getting reps and the first team is out watching, well, you could be over there talking to your buddy and not paying attention, or you could be watching what the heck's going on. If that coach cuts his eyes over there to see what's going on and you're over there messing around, it didn't bode real well, So, I mean, he's very focused, and I think that's helped him a lot.
Even with the Marshall situation, are you guys sticking with JJ now back in secondary, you think?
Well, I think if we heard, it would depend if we heard some news on Todd and when we heard it and what the news was. There's always a chance that JJ could come back next week. We hope he doesn't have to.
I know that you haven't approached it like the outside world has, but was it a little different watching Todd at practice today, knowing that Quest had gone out?
Well, I guess you could say so. I mean, I'll say this about him. He has tried hard to stay in condition, while he hasn't been able to play, because he wasn't getting a ton of reps in practice, and he wasn't playing in the game. So he's been doing some extra conditioning on his own, and is there a little bit more purpose today? Maybe. I mean, he was working pretty hard even when he knew he wasn't going to play. But I mean, before I knew Missouri, no. I knew Arkansas, no. I mean, I knew that the whole time. But now I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping he can play, and watching him practice, you're hoping these reps are going to be ones that count.
So you knew Monday, the Arkansas game, that he probably wouldn't play?
Yes. And that question that he asked, I thought you asked me a hypothetical question on if you found out late in the week that he could go, would he be ready to go? Would he have had enough practice or not? And I was like, and I said if was given the okay to go, then yes, he would go, and he would play. But I looked at that more of a hypothetical question than and I might I think I even said I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, but that thing just got way out of proportion as far as somehow my answer gave everybody the impression that we were going to know for sure on Friday whether he was in or out, which I didn't try to communicate that, but that's what happens when you talk too much.
Mark, do you think the fact that y'all won 2 games without Todd has now made you a stronger team in spite of not having? I mean, do you feel like there is actually a real positive development?
I think the bottom line is if we keep winning, yes. If we start losing, then it doesn't matter what happened the last 2 weeks, really. I think people will judge you by whether you keep winning more than what we did the last 2 weeks, in my opinion.
If you get good news on Todd, how do you go forward with Nick? What has he done the last 2 weeks? How does that change how you might try to work those two together?
I'm just going to wait on that one until we know something.
Will you be waiting with bated breath on this decision, or is it just go about your
We're just going to go about our business and prepare like we've been preparing, and if he can play, we'll be excited. If he can't, then we'll keep trying to do what we've been doing.
Are you surprised with the legs the stories yet, or the attention, certainly national attention that this whole?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, Todd obviously was having a great season up to this point, and a lot of people were mentioning him as a Heisman candidate, and I think rightfully so. The numbers were there. I don't know if you want to call it his style of play or whatever you want to call it, is very attractive to people. People can see that he's a little bit different than most guys out there. So yeah, you know, he already had so much attention drawn towards him. To have this happen, it's not that shocking, really.
Mark, you got the weekend off, or y'all don't have a game this weekend.
Right.
Will you have an opportunity to relax any this weekend?
I will be in front of the TV. I'll probably start watching real close around 3:30 till the rest of the evening. If there's any honeydews my wife has for me, I'll do them earlier in the day. I mean, I'll try to get in the front of the TV by a noon game, but I'm not sure that'll work.
Do you look forward to a week off? I know you look forward to the game every week, but
I do. I
know
mean,
with momentum
once it's
and all that-
here, I mean, like right now, am I looking forward to Saturday? Yes. Watching everybody else suffer, you know. Watch everybody else have to make those gut-wrenching decisions and you know, go through the drama of it. It's kind of fun to watch everybody else go through it.
Mark, Muschamp said today that they're gonna start the freshman quarterback, Harris. Have you seen him on TV? I haven't watched him on film at all. What's your impression?
Yeah, I've been watching him. Very dangerous athlete, and it's kind of like playing a guy who's in the Wildcat every snap, except for he can really throw it. You know, most Wildcat guys are really great runners and maybe can throw a little bit, but this guy is a very dangerous runner and throws the ball well. And that always creates problems. The defensive coordinators don't like facing guys like that, because if you know quarterback's not mobile, you can do certain things to defend the pass. But if a guy can run, those very things that you would use on a non-mobile quarterback would be a death sentence on any 3rd and long, you know, with his ability to run. So it just makes you have more people accountable for him as a runner.
Nick got a lot of attention, 38 carries, being a workhorse back, but he said a little while ago that week he played so soon after the surgery, playing with a club on his hand was probably the tougher physical test. What did that game show you about him?
He is a tough kid, and you just can't tell if he's tired, if he's hurting, you just can't tell. His body language won't tell you that. He just goes hard, and then he hustles back and he goes hard again, and that's Nick Chubb. And even in the game, you know, you're always watching your back to see what kind of does he look tired? Does he, you know, because you don't want a guy to fumble the ball because he's tired, or you just don't want a guy to, you know, be vulnerable because he's fatigued. And as you watch him, you know, you just don't see any signs of that. I really don't know what he feels on the inside, but he's just a very physically and mentally tough kid.
Last question. Has he ever asked out, tapped on the helmet?
I've never seen him. No, I'd be shocked. But I mean, I wouldn't look down on him if he did. But you know, I've never seen him do that. It's young in his career, but that game he carried 38. He could have tapped out a couple times, but he didn't even flinch.
Coach, for the last question, just getting back to Gurley for a moment. If you could kind of run through what is it that you did learn about the mistakes he says he made, and have you had a heart-to-heart with him? Has he come clean with you about specifically what happened, and are you satisfied with what he tells you?
I'm not going to tell you all that, but it was a good question.